So we are here.
Hello.
Hello. We're here to talk about our Empower hands-on training in teaching and leading, for which we received $50,000 from the Northern Rivers Community Foundation for the flood recovery and resilience funding stream, and the impact area being mental health and well-being.
How does that feel?
I have so much I want to say, and it feels very exciting. Very exciting. I feel great that there is the containment of all these questions that we're going to answer. So, Empower. Was the project delivered as outlined in your application, and what changed? The answer is yes. The things we did that we said we'd do.
Yeah.
Broadening our outreach of our resilience and recovery services that we'd already demonstrated were successful. All of our well-being services, the tool training aspects, the repair cafe stuff, the consultation stuff, the ongoing well-being support, all of that, tick, 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 tick.
Yeah.
Sharing our model, sharing our replicable model. So this is where the yes and turns into, we ran the 24 workshops, and we also created the online course. We created the 8 sort of 20-minute videos that went onto a YouTube channel. We created the Spotify podcast. We've created this resource now that when people say, I want to set up my shed, boom, there's a starter. Call me back when you've had a look at all that stuff. So that replicable model of our practices and of our networks and of our resources, that's all happened, which is feeling fabulous. And like we said, just the beginning. Teaching other like-minded organisations who support the wider region.
Yeah.
So connecting with organisations across the Northern Rivers, and the ongoing networking that's happening there, which is what's next, how can we keep supporting all those people, and of course empowering people with safe and practical skills, the hands-on skills and the connectivity between the well-being, the self, the feeling good, and that sort of collective sense of purpose that came out of this. Question 2. How many people directly benefited from the project? So we said we'd teach 140 people in 24 workshops. We had 150 participants, which I know I was very committed to, and I partway through thought, no, it's a lot. And it was a lot, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, we had so many volunteers, like 30 volunteers helping us to create it all, and all of our staff. And they all participated as well in the program.
Yep.
And then all of our networking events, where we had over 200 people at a series of networking events to sort of check in and keep that, keep that inspiration that they felt sort of happening.
And celebrate.
And celebrate. Don't forget to celebrate. Remember to celebrate. So that's who was directly supported.
Yeah.
And then we have the indirectly supported people, the beneficiaries, where, again, when I reflect on what we said we'd do in the grant application and what we did, there's a yes, 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 and. So I want to speak to that. We had individuals and organisations in community resilience and giving them all of the well-being training and support. So they could come and learn our well-being practices and also be supported by them when they might fall down and hit the ground, how they could spring back up. Individuals and organisations in flood recovery and rebuilding, and I think about rebuilding on a physical level and also on a rebuilding us as well.
Indeed.
And that's more specifically like the tool training stuff, like getting hands-on skills that they can go and utilise and also share. And then the education around how we use all of our salvage materials. A lot of stuff we did after this last flood
Yes.
was about repair,
Yes.
and that was big.
Yes.
And that was all about salvage. And so discovering more about how we do that and sharing more of those practices through that and ongoingly, which we'll speak to. And providing people the access to our resources, but also the networks and also their networks, their local networks and the waste management groups. And we're all pretty keen and passionate for the same thing around salvage, which is nice. And then that collective support, like as a collective, if somebody doesn't have the capacity, we just ask somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of tick, 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 tick of what we said we'd do. And then we've got the and.
Yes.
So we also coupled Empower with Upskill. Upskill being our introductory workshop, an intro and an induction to our wellbeing practices, our space, our values, the tools, this sort of exploring with curiosity, this idea of playing and discovering through a sense of like more easeful curiosity as opposed to resilience. We've got to get ready for the next thing. Instead, discovering that internal sort of passion and power. And then I think about the other people who benefited from the project. I think about the people who all those organisations are supporting, all the waste management groups, Solo Resource Recovery, the trailer they donated, the Byron Council, Ballina Council, people from Wollumbar Council, Resilient Lismore, the guys from the Paddock coming, Ballina Salvage Shed, Byron Resource Recovery Centre, which is our tip, and Tip Shop, the Kyogle Tip Crew, which is CRIC, the Kyogle Resource Initiative Collective, people from the Library of Stuff, the Lismore Healing Hub, wellbeing groups, repair groups, tool libraries. So thinking of all the people they support. And then internally, because of course all of our crew did this as well.
Yeah.
So we've got now Shedding has created more of these departments. So we've got our wellbeing mentors, our facilitators, our space makers, our repairers, our salvage crew, which we'll come to when we're talking about the future projects.
Yep.
Our shed keepers to maintain everything. Like this is getting big to maintain all of that. So we benefited, and our model has evolved and adapted and kind of distilled in a way so that we have more clarity in what we're sharing and how to share that replicable model.
The beneficiaries is immeasurable.
Yeah. I think of people who have just come out of it and then they talk about a conversation they had with someone who was having a tough time and how they supported them with some wellbeing practices, and that person actually works for this organisation and works with those crews and volunteers with the SES, and they took those ideas here and there. And so there's a lot of qualitative evidence on that as well as the numbers. The next question, what was the most positive story and significant change that occurred as a result of this project?
There were so many positive stories. Which one do you pick?
I can't. And also I think by the nature of confidentiality, I'm very keen to speak to the running theme through the positive stories, which I think is this theme of redefining resilience and the power of breakdowns and breakthroughs. This was a term that sort of came through Empower, where I thought, a lot of people are having breakdowns. What am I doing wrong? And then to reflect with them and with you that they feel safe.
Yeah.
And that the breakdown is what inspires our passion for something. We're having a breakdown about that. That thing happened. It doesn't feel good. What do I want? I want this. And that the passion is the fuel that fuels the fire of all the things that we're doing. So all of those individual stories add up to this collective story of us wanting the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think the model of resilience, instead of being so stoic and strong, this definition, like redefining resilience, they talk in the definition of resilience about withstanding and the capacity to withstand and recover quickly. And I think about the withstanding piece, yes, and I think about recovery, because this grant was about recovery and resilience, and how to recover is to really meet people where they're at and listen and help them to know it's okay for them to feel however they're feeling. And this collective model, we have lots of people part of our resilient model now, so we can call on lots of people for help, which means that you don't have to have the capacity. And you can say no, and that can be celebrated.
Yes.
And then I can go, thanks for your clarity. What about you? Nope. What about you? Nope. What about you? Yes, brilliant. And then next time you might have capacity. So I think that our well-being model, which is, like you've said, the umbrella, carries through everything.
Yeah.
Our resilience model is well-being first, and that's the thing I think will carry through a lot of other places. And when we put well-being first, and we have capacity and we have passion, efficiency is a byproduct. So we don't even need to worry about that. And it kind of it flips the script. Instead of get things done and then I'll go get a massage, it's like, do the well-being first. I feel amazing, let's go. And I think we've seen the successes of that, where we're like, whoa, we did that thing really fast.
Yeah.
I think about our networks as well. There's, in terms of these positive outcomes and the story, they're all the individual stories, and then the networks and this running kind of theme. People are a bit tired of resilience, but it's like we've fed them with something that they get it back, they spring back, which is the definition of resilience, you know, this capacity to spring back, and this word elasticity, which I looked up the definition of resilience, and this capacity to spring back. And having the collective to choose from, so it's not all on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next question. How do you know these changes have occurred? What evidence have you seen of change? So in this question, there's a checklist, and I've ticked all the boxes, which I will read.
Okay.
Qualitative research, people stories. Quantitative research, numbers. Observations, quotes, anecdotes, testimonials, photos, media, partners, our collaborations, surveys, interviews, before the workshop, after the workshop, before the online course, after the online course, evidence of skill development, leadership, volunteering, and community activities. So I think about all the questions in the online course before they step into the training day, the check-in at the start of the training day, what they're bringing into it as individuals when they take their hat off of, I'm a representative of this organisation, and now they're just Joe. All the notes that you take throughout the workshop, all the questions that we ask them, it's very driven by them. We don't tell them what resilience is or how to do it. We say to them, what is this for you? What do you want to get out of this? What did you notice from that exercise? And they've got it all in them. So asking them lots of questions through the workshop, the survey created after the workshop, the observations, watching our empowered mentors coming back and practicing those skills and developing those skills and having a go at sharing those responsibilities. Can I try teaching you something? Yeah, sure. Can I try being the leader this time? Yeah, sure. And the increased volunteering. Our volunteers come back because they're like, I just really like hanging out here. I just really like it.
Yeah.
And And our community activities, I think about Shedfest, our end-of-year festival, and everyone hosting all these workshops and playing music and serving food for each other. And that was our biggest one yet. And there were a lot of our empowered mentors there, a lot of people from other organisations who participated in Empower. And then, of course, all of our photos and videos, and we've got so much from it all. So that's the research that we've done and the evidence that we've seen. And the change, I mean, in that question is the change and then the future changes and the unanticipated successes. And there were many things. I think the next question will speak to this more so. But the change that happened in the individual from when they walked in, and this mentality shift, this transformation from, I don't think I can do this, or I'm barely keeping up, to, I can do this. Or, I think I'm up for giving it a go. Like, just that shift. That they don't have to. They don't have to try and change the whole world. But should we give it a go? And this collective sort of, we'll give it a go together. And having a whole lot of people in that workshop together, giving it a go, and then witnessing each other meet those challenges and have their breakdowns and breakthroughs in front of the group. We witnessed that in each other and modelled that for each other. And I think the workshop, this comes back to the significant change. I think that this resilience thing, for them to arrive at that place, they come in, they feel a sense of safety, they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel a sense of belonging and compassion, hearing somebody else share a story that might be similar to theirs. And then there's that collective, like, oh God, we're in this together. And then that passion is something that they don't feel like they're carrying on their own. Were there any unanticipated successes, unexpected challenges, and lessons learnt? Yes! I like that you asked me the other day about the challenges, and I couldn't think of a whole lot in terms of the running of the workshop. It was very successful.
Yes.
We did all the things we said we would and a lot more. And you reminded me that it's okay if we didn't have a lot of challenges because it means that we made a good thing. I think a success that is demonstrated by the fact that Empower is now ongoing is that Empower was successful, as per so many of our workshops. The ongoing nature of Upskill started 5 years ago, Construct's coming back, Space Makers was only going to be a short thing, it's still going, and our Empower and Repair Cafe and our empowered mentors are feeding into all those things now. So it's having that ripple effect on all of our services that we offer to other people. We have, I think it also is reflected by the fact that we have lots more requests. That person did it and they're from that group and now the whole group wants to do it, or they're from that community and now the whole community wants to do it. That feels pretty good.
Yeah, heaps.
Challenges. I think the challenges led to more successes. So I think that the way we did this is that it changed every time. And we told the students, you're teaching us how to teach this workshop. It changes every time. And we adapt, and it's flexible. And if a participant, a student, I say student because I often say that we were the students and they were the teachers. If they had a breakdown and breakthrough, they might think, oh, I don't want to take up space of the workshop, and we'd say, this is part of the workshop. Like this is a great place for you to have a breakdown and a breakthrough. That's what this is for. So I think for them to feel supported in that was a big thing for me. I was like, oh wow, this is big for people. A lesson learnt was, I think it shifted this idea of teaching and leading again, that it takes a team. We don't have our teacher and our leader, or our teachers and our leaders, and we'll just do what they say or learn from them. We can support our teacher and we can support our leader. And even still taking that teacher and leader identity and turning it into a verb, so that, do you want to have a go at teaching this thing? Yeah. Or no thanks. So it's a verb, it's not an identity. I'm not now in that role forever. And the team of supportive students and supportive followers being explicit in the questions that they ask, or instead of, hey, can you show me something? Hey, can you teach me?
Yeah.
Or can you do these things to help me learn that thing? So I think we realised that it's a non-hierarchical shared responsibility, and we can all support each other. That was a big lesson. I think that there was a challenge around inviting people to sign up for this and talking about resilience and recovery, and people being a bit like, I think I need another few months holiday. And how we adapted to that being about getting in touch with people one-on-one and telling them what it's about, and that this is for them. It's not for them to help their organisation. This is for them. And in turn, that's what happens. But it was all about them, about the individual. So I think that was a big lesson. And that one-on-one support, that well-being support, was for them and was also for us. It was for everyone.
Yeah.
We're all in it. It was for me.
Yeah.
And
me.
the nature of debriefing and seeing what came up.
Yes.
And, that one was real tough. Okay, what was coming up there? Okay, I think it might, all right, I've got all those childhood things going on, all right. And to use that as a breakdown and a breakthrough, not just for the participants, but we were all participants. We were all in it. So that was a big lesson. The value of check-ins, knowing where people were at, the value of co-facilitation, having many people to offer support so that somebody could step out and have a cup of tea, or sit on the grass, or do some breathing, or be listened to, or have a one-on-one sort of session. It gave me so much more capacity to say, hey, could you jump into this thing, and I'm just going to nick out with them. And so there was enough support for them.
Yeah.
I think a great success is our 98% workshop completion.
Yes.
98% of the people who came completed the workshop, and the people who didn't want to jump into another one. So
They
that
do.
feels like a great success. Something that pops to mind is that this isn't a thing that just helped people to run a carpentry workshop, that these skills are so transferable that we had people who might not pick up a tool again, but the stories that we got back of how that person felt empowered to not work in that job that's not fulfilling for them, but go for that thing that they're terrified of because they might not be a good enough teacher or leader or supporter or counsellor, and them going towards that thing that they feel really passionate about, which is a thing that is about helping people. I think that was like a wow moment, and a positive stories and unexpected outcomes to hear those experiences of people, and ongoingly too. The next question. What future changes do you expect your project will have? So I think about the organisations that are now hosting their own workshops. They're setting up their own tool libraries. They're doing repair services. I think about the future things that we know are coming, shedding on the road, taking our mobile workshop, our 7-seater truck with a mobile workshop that we're going to build on the back, to 6 locations around the Northern Rivers, flood-affected communities, to share, upskill and empower, and an evening of potluck community consultation with them. So Empower continues. I think about our funding we got to run our wellbeing training, so people we can outsource some training in the language that we use, the compassionate communication, the mental health first aid, and the general first aid, of course. I think about our salvage crew. That has become its whole own department, and providing more education on how people can salvage here and across the region. And that's in collaboration now with all these different waste management groups and people from them who have done Empower. So we have the same values and communication.
Yeah.
And then the ripple effect of, I know there are conversations with many different community organisations about this redefining of resilience and their requests to take our model for resilience, our wellbeing model, into their organisations and have more wellbeing support within what they're doing, and not just wellbeing support for, I'd say, do you have wellbeing support? And they'd say, oh yeah, for all our volunteers. And I'd say, no, do you have wellbeing support? Like wellbeing support for everyone, which includes conflict resolution and mediation, and check-ins on a real human level, where it's them as a person, not just them as a representative of the organisation. And this idea of shifting resilience from, oh, we've got to prepare for the next thing, to, golly, it feels good to work together, and this word that was used the other day by a friend, a Christotunity. Like we thrive we can thrive in the face of challenge, and that can feel really good. And then I think the future of what I've seen already, even before Empower was completed, our empowered mentors jumping into and supporting our repairers and our space makers and our facilitators and our backstage bandits, all the admin people and all the people who are turning all the wheels and all our volunteers. So seeing that ripple effect already before we've even sort of kicked off, shedding on the road and started to go all out there. And just the networking, the future collective, collaborative response. It feels like I've met so many people from a much wider area, which I think brings me to the last question, which we're asked about. There's this idea that we've experienced perhaps many incredible things over the last year or so, and is there anything else that we want to share? And I think that I want to mention the power of a dynamic acquittal, which is what we're doing right now. I'm not writing words on a piece of paper. I can sit with my amazing friend and co-facilitator and well-being supporter, Pat Gregory, and I can tell people about this. And we can share that not just as an acquittal, but in many places, which is very exciting. I think that there is power in connecting the grant recipients with each other, because we're all, I think, doing amazing things. And it is, I think, very useful to meet each other, that we can have that solidarity of, oh, I'm carrying this big thing and trying to do some big things, and oh, so am I, and how's that going for you? And sharing our knowledge of the challenges, the mistakes, the edits, the adaptions, the stories, and working together, really working together.
Competition drops away.
Yeah, so it's collaboration instead of competition.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful to the NRCF for the opportunity to do this, because it gives us the opportunity to say so much more. And I think the last thing that pops to mind is just how our shedding model, this replicable model that we are now sharing with others, it's ever-changing, it's not stagnant. And so we can share with those people how it has changed through Empower, what Empower taught us, and us debriefing with ourselves, so that this model that we're sharing, I remember thinking at the start of this, we're going to share this model we've created. And since the start to the end of Empower, it's changed.
Yeah.
It's become more specific, more distilled, more clear. And I think that all of the people who are wanting to be supported by this, there are many more of them, and this is much bigger than we thought. And as you said so wonderfully, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.